In our Parshat Vaeira, the Torah describes 7 out of the 10 plagues. And the first 2 plagues are blood and frogs, both of which basically affected the River Nile. The River Nile was turned into blood, and then from the River Nile came out a swarm of frogs. And the Torah tells us, and in fact, Hashem said to Moshe that when he strikes against Egypt, first he will strike against their gods, the deities that they worship. And one of these was the River Nile. The River Nile is really, in the ancient world, what gave Egypt its incredible power. They always had access to fresh water pretty much throughout the entire year. Even when other countries in the region were struggling with drought, etc., there was always the River Nile. This gave them power, and they viewed it as being a deity, as being something which was completely supernatural. And what does God do? He strikes at their deity first. He renders the River Nile basically useless. It just produces blood instead of water. And then from the River Nile, instead of coming goodness, instead of coming fertility, instead of coming a nurturing water, there comes a swarm of frogs. What is the meaning behind this? And I think we could say the following message. Throughout history, civilizations have often been built up around a particular idea or a particular concept or a particular technology which they possessed, which gave them power. But take away that power, and what is left of those people? They become ineffectual. They become impotent. Take, for example, the Tower of Babel. Those people were going to build a metropolis with a massive tower, the first skyscraper in history. And this would be their way of holding together all of the people who lived in the region. It would give them power over the region. And God interferes with their plans. And he changes their languages so that one man cannot understand the language of another man. And they failed to build the tower. Without their tower, they're nothing. Egypt, the strongest, most mighty empire that probably ever existed for thousands of years, suddenly rendered impotent. Because without their River Nile, what are they? And therefore, every civilization has to ask themselves, do we have value independent of the technology that we create? Do we have value independent of the resources that we have? Take away those resources. And what will happen? You see, the Jewish people, for a good part of our history, has lived without a land, without a government, without sovereignty. And yet we maintained ourselves as a people. Why? Because we had something they couldn't take away from us, and that is the Torah. The Torah cannot be taken away from us because it's in our hearts. Our value doesn't come from the fact that we have a particular country or we have a king, etc. Obviously, we need those things, but we can exist without it. What would happen, for example, if something freak happened, Hashem caused the internet to go down for a day? There would be worldwide pandemonium because the whole world functions on the internet now. But minus the internet, what are we? Do we have value? That is a question that we have to ask ourselves. And this is what happened with the plague of blood and frogs. I'm going to take away the River Nile. I'm going to take away your deity. And just what type of people are you without it? I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.